Festool is very, very good. Some people ask me if Festool is worth the money. It is. However, oh, I don't have it here. When you buy this, you get a little bit of user's manual with a little tiny print and doesn't have a whole lot of stuff in it. Do you have a question? Okay. However, if you go out to the internet, to the FOG, you know what the FOG is? Festool's Owners Group. You'll find more stuff in the FOG than Carter's Got Peanuts. This is the Festool Domino 500 Supplemental User's Manual. This is the one that you want. It's free. Festool put it together. Everything you need to know to really do a great job with this is in this. Okay? And, oh, come on. There we go. So you got specifications, you got boo-boo notices, and then it actually starts taking you through the machine. And I'm not, where'd it go? No, you got to buy this. So if anybody's got an Apple product and you want this when this is done, I can send it over this to yours. But it's free. Festool, you get it at the FOG, Festool Users Group. And they have a lot of great information on this. So let's talk about dominoes. What's the purpose? The purpose is mortise and tenon joinery. Mortise and tenon joinery has been around literally for thousands of years, and it is the most common joint in woodworking. We use it all for all kinds of stuff. And this is a router. This is a router that's oscillating. This on this one turns at 25,500 RPMs. If you just buy the domino by itself, it comes with a 5mm router bit. So it takes the 5mm dominoes. And if you buy the set, you also get this accessory, and these accessories. These accessories go on either side of the domino. So if you've got a great big long board and you want to put dominoes every, I don't know, 120 millimeters, here you go. You do the first one, slide this along till this one hits the edge. You do it again, slide this along, hit the edge, and you don't have to measure. You don't have to put the lines down. It's all here, and this is meant to go in either direction. Why is that important? If I want to join these two pieces together, and I made the little lines, and I've taken them out, and I drill the domino here, and then I flip it over. Well, the line should still line up, right? But suppose I used this. So I made my first one, and I came down, and I went down this way. And then when I flip this one over, I do the same thing. I do the first one here, and I come down this way. Unless these things are perfect, you'll find out when you put them together, you're going to get this. That's why this has got a left and right here. When you joint with dominoes, if you just go down by 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches, and you flip it over to do this side, you've got to start at this side and come down 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches. That is a common boo-boo. I guarantee you, more than once, I've put them together and I've done this and I've got son of a gun. I did the boo-boo myself. So that's what these are for. They do a good job. I use these a lot. This one, worth its weight in gold. This one is when you want to put dominoes in the end of boards like this. You're going to make a fence, you're going to make a basket, you're going to make whatever you want to make, a gate. And you have to do a whole bunch of these things. If you're doing spindle stuff and you want to attach here and here, this goes, and I'll put this on, but this goes into the machine, and these go right down the middle, and you press it in, and it's the same place in every one. Boom, 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 off you go. And this one, you use this a lot when you're making a lot of these, and then you don't use it for a long time. And then when you have to make something more with all these, you'll use this like that. It's worth its weight in gold. This is a supplemental, if you're doing vertical applications like this, it helps hold it. Or if you have to do, where's the little release? Oh, here we go. You can do, there we go. You can do stops. You can flip these down to hold it in position. Does a great job keeping everything stable. And then this whole thing can pop out. But basically, I've used it to just keep this stable when I do this. Helps, and of course you get line up line, so you get a line up line that's the same on this side as on this side. So if you're going down a line that you're trying to put these in certain places, this is. But these come with the set. About the machine itself. This comes with a 5mm bit. To get to the 5mm bit, this comes with this little wrench. Whatever you do, don't lose this little wrench, because it's designed to do this. There you go. Is there anything you're going to tighten with this? That's what it does. So with this off, now I can change this. And to change, oh, the other thing this does. This is a stop right here. And now I take my little wrench and I can unscrew that. Now, if you just buy this set, this is the only cutter you're going to get. This will, the 5mm will go into the wood a maximum of 28mm. Okay, a little over an inch. But this is what it is. Now, I highly recommend that if you're going to spend the money to buy this, you buy this. What this is the accessory box that comes with it. So you get all the dominoes that fit this particular machine. Not only that, you get all the router bits that fit that particular machine. So this accessory kit gives you all the dominoes that you can use with this, plus all the cutters you could use with this. So this is really, really handy. 4, 5, 6, 8, 8, and so what we have here, the teeniest one's a 4mm, and that's the thickness. The next one up is the 5. This is the one that you use without the accessory. The next one up is the 6. The next one up is the 8. And the 8 comes in 2 flavors. Let me grab all 10s. Here's your 10. The 8 comes in 2 flavors. just different lengths. Okay, so the 8's the only one that comes different lengths. These are the 8's, and this is the 10. Again, that's the thickness here. Not for this. For this, you've got 2. This is a smaller one. From 8 through 10. Plus you get the cutters for this. So you can see the XL, this is the same 8's and 10's, they're just much longer. Okay? And like any of these accessory kits, the router bits that cut these things come with these accessory kits. Oh yeah, if something big, heavy door, absolutely, this would be great. But for that, you might even want this. This is the second that comes for the big guy. Again, cutters are involved. So you need massive, massive tenons. And the 700's it. Like I said, you can build a house with these. But these are extra. So if you wanted to outfit yourself with this for $1,400, you can get this accessory kit for another $300, and you can get this accessory kit for another $330. So here you got $630 plus $1,400, so you're looking at about $2,000 right there. This is why professional contractors, professional woodworkers that do big stuff think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's an investment in their shop, and they use it all the time. It's seamless. It's easy to do. For us mere mortals, this is probably where we spend most of our time. No, no. What are biscuits made out of? Pressed birch. Pressed birch. I can take a biscuit and I can snap it. These are made out of European birch. That's similar to our maple. They're much stronger. Even the 4mm domino, you can't snap. These are true floating tenons. They also make one out of sapelli. And those dominoes are meant for outside. They're also meant to add a contrast if you want to have an exposed domino. So you can have nice light wood and these dark dominoes showing. We do. There's a bag of them up there on the wall, but they're just like mahogany. Sapelli is a member of the mahogany family. More brown. Yeah, more brown. So that's what we're, now when you look at these dominoes, another thing you're going to see is they have paths for the glue. So it's very hard to get on a hydraulic lock when you're gluing. Anytime you're working with dominoes, let me grab a big one. Here you can see the lines. You can see the little bump out and bump out here so that when you press it in, glue can come up these sidelines here. Where is the strength on this domino as far as the glue is concerned? This flat side, this flat side, okay? A little bit more, a little bit here, not as strong as here, but there's absolute strength at this end and there's no strength at this end. So you really don't need to fill the whole bloody mortise with a whole bunch of glue. What I normally do is I put a bunch of glue here, take it, put it in, and as I'm pushing it down in there, it's self-gluing itself all. Put the excess around here. But this is what's important for the glue to be. This, a little bit more, a little bit important, not as much as this, and this, absolutely no value whatsoever. So don't think you have to get the bottom of the mortises for this to stick. Actually, you'd be better off if you had a little gap like that at the bottom so that you have a space for the glue to go. Any questions? Okay. Let's talk about the machine itself. No, I don't remember a bloody one coming with the machine at all. Yeah. Yeah, if you buy the regular domino, just get the package of 5mm dominoes. The 5mm is 5mm thick, about 18 or 19 from side to side, and it's about 30 from this way. So when you want to go in about 15. That gets you half in each, half in this. This machine also has the ability, if you're like putting in face frames, and so your face frame is only this thick, well, you can't go halfway through because you'd be poke out the side. You can make this so that instead of 15 and 15, it's 12 and what, 28, 18? Yeah, what you said. But you can make it so that one side goes in fairly shallow, the other side goes fairly deep. So you do have that ability. So, where's my router bit? These are very simple to do. First thing you want to do is hold this little stop in and just screw this on. And then line up here. I've never needed to, but you can snug it if you want. When the router first grabs, it self-tightens. And you push it into here, click. She's back together. Stop what you're doing. Take the little wrench. Put it back in the little wrench spot. One nice thing about these is if you ever forget what goes where, they've got a picture in here of how it's loaded. Okay. So, what have we got? First things first. This is the off and on Festool. Anything that's green, I always think that these should be secured in some type of clamp or vise when you're doing these. And you'll see why when you look at this, because this was done free-handed, and you can see that when that router bit bites in the wood, if the grain is taking a hard turn, the router is going to jump to follow it. So you really have to be careful. But this is the normal size, the medium size, and the large size. Why? What purpose does that serve? We're not as meticulous measuring. If I lined up, I put in 10 of these things on the board this size. If the other 10 weren't absolutely dead solid exact, that would never come together. You have to take everything out. You'd have to recut them. Or you can have the two starting points dead solid perfect like this, and then from that point on, all the others you use this medium setting. And that way, if some was off a little bit, you never know it because it still slide in there. And remember, what's important for the glue is the big flats, not the sides, not the bottom. So this does not affect the structural stability of this joint at all. It does a great job. It's just, this is in here so that you don't have to be as meticulous. Once you get this nailed, theoretically, they all should be perfect. But if you don't clamp it hard and one of these things move like this one did, then it just might not come together. Okay? The biggest thing you knew about changing the setting is It can only be done when the motor's moving, turning. You can't do it cold. And if you try to do it while you're plunging, you'll break the machine. Over here, we have this little green arrow. And here you can see 15, 12, 15, 20, 25, 28. This is your plunge depth. This is how deep that domino router is going to go into the piece of wood. Since I've got it set on a one that's 30 mils wide, or long rather, I've got it set on 15. And you just take this, and we'll, there we go. This flips up, and then this flips over, and you can tell how deep to go. Press down, flip it over this way. And these little lines right here, I'll pass this around. When you look down at this green tag, you can see that there's a little mark right there, right at the bottom, if you got good eyes, where it lines up on that line. So if it's sitting there, you're not sure which it's on, if you look where that little mark is, right here at the base of that little green marker, you'll tell exactly where it is. Mm-hmm. Yes, if I'm going to do a whole line of stuff, yes, absolutely. If I'm just going to make two, no. I use the smallest one. Mm-hmm. So let's look at this for a second. Here we have this domino here. And is there a minimum distance that these can't get closer to them? Minimum distance. The minimum distance isn't this way, it's this way. So whatever one you're working on, it can't be closer than the width here. So this is a 5 millimeter. So it can't be closer than 5 millimeters. Now it can be further away all day long. If you're doing a stack this way, then the minimum distance is the thickness, which is the same as this. So here we have one here, and this is a 10, so we have to go 10 millimeters up for the next one. Make sense to y'all? So the thickness of the domino you have also just happens to be the minimum distance it can be to another domino. Be more, it just can't be closer. It's just the thickness of this. So it doesn't matter whether you're coming with dominoes this way or you're coming with dominoes this way. Whatever thickness of that domino is, they can't be closer here to here than that. And whatever thickness is, they can't be stacked closer than that. Make sense to y'all? And normally you're going to find that's not even come into play. Just I normally space mine 6 to 9 inches out this way. And if it's a standard thing like this, I don't worry about it. Wide, and I want to put 2 in there, I'll just put 2 side by side like that, as long as there's that space between them. And it's fairly easy to do.
When you determine which domino to use, should it occupy more than half of the thickness of the wood?
It's a good question. Normally when you're doing tenons, mortise and tenons, there's the rule of thirds or there's the rule of halves. And that's when you normally make them with a router or you're chiseling with a drill or something like that. The rule of thirds is if you've got a 3/4 inch piece of stock, then you want 1/4 wood, 1/4 mortise and 1/4 wood. You divide it up into thirds. So your tenon is going to be 1/4 inch. If you wanted to do that with a domino, and you're using 3/4 inch stock, which in domino language, the closest thing to that is about 20 millimeters. Actually, it's 19, between 19 and 20. Let's say 20 because it's easier. So it's 20. So what's 3 into 20? Well, not 7, a little more than 6. So if you do something 6 millimeters, you are into basically the rule of thirds. So if I'm going to do a 6 millimeter domino in a 3/4 inch stock and try to get the domino tap dead center, I'm happy camper. You're satisfying the rule of thirds. The rule of halves is if you've got 3/4 inch stock, excuse me, what's half? 3/8. So 3/8. So what have you got left over? 1/8 and 1/8. Okay. So if you've got 3/4 stock and you're at 3/8, this is deciphering. Okay. Let's say 20, let's say 10, let's say 5. So what you've got is something around the 8 millimeter. And then you'll have just a little bit on both sides of it. So 10s are when you're a little bit thicker, 5s and 4s are when you're a little bit thinner. So that's personal preference. It's completely personal preference. They've had people yell at each other about it. It's just like bandsaws and how you set the blade. You set the center of the blade in the tire, or do you set the gullet next to the center of the tire? Yeah, there's people that like it each way. There is no set rule. It's just whatever you feel is good. I've been using the rule of thirds for a long, long time. I've never had a problem. So basically, for most of the stuff I do on dominoes, I'm either in 5 or 6 millimeters. If I'm using thicker stock, I'll use 8s and 10s. I like the 8s because I get a long one in the 8. The longest one they have is the 8, and that's a really great general purpose one. You won't go wrong with either one. If you're a 5, 6, or 8, you're really not. Those are more for you've got really thick stuff. An example. I made a picture frame that was yay big by yay big, and the picture frame didn't hold a picture, it held a mirror. Mirror was very, very heavy. So what I did when I made the frame for that, I used the 10 millimeter dominoes. And then there's this technique where you can lock a frame ever. We'll show you how to do that today. So depending on what you're doing depends upon how that little, which one of these you want to pick. If I'm doing just little things of wood together, more like I'm clamping up a panel, okay? Which domino should I use to clamp up a panel? Well, first of all, where is the strength of that panel coming from? It's coming from the long grain glue joint. The only thing I don't want to happen is when I clamp it, I don't want those boards to rise up and down and make me sand like crazy. 4 millimeters, fine. Because I'm not using those to strengthen that joint, even though they will. I'm using it so they'll move. Or if I've got a little tiny picture frame. There's all kinds of things where these will jump out at you where this is what you want. So basically, the rule of thirds or the rule of halves is stronger. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. So the next thing, how do we plan for us? What we need, once we've determined how deep we're going to go, we're going to use the 5 millimeter here. Mhm.
Like those two pieces of wood there.
That I'm going to show you in just a little bit. Yeah. That's over here.
I'll just wait.
Okay. So,
When I saw it.
so this is set at 15. So this is the proper depth I want to get distance on both sides. Now, how do we set this so that we're at the right altitude? And what do I mean by that? I mean that if I'm going to put a which one? Yeah, this one. I kind of want this, remember, we kind of always want our tenons, our mortise and tenons, to be in the middle of the piece we're putting this into. That's what we want. So, what do we got here? Well, from the base of this, and we're going to measure in metric. I got my little metric ruler here. So putting this flat on the table, that's at 10 millimeters. So what's half of 10 millimeters? Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. What's double 10 millimeters? Because we want, remember, we want this in the middle. Okay. What's a 3/4 inch piece of wood? Yeah, it's between 19 and 20. Between 19 and 20. So out of the box, if I just take a 3/4 inch piece of wood, stick it down, put the domino to it, it's, without us doing anything, it's going to be kind of, sort of in the middle. Okay? Well, is that good enough? Could be. Yeah. So if I'm doing two to come together, let's just pick this. I want to join these two together. So I can just take this out. I can make my marks. I can take this up and hit it and do it. And now I've got a mark on this side. I've got to keep that same side up and up. So without you having to do anything to strain, out of the box, sitting like this, 3/4, you're there. What about thinner than 3/4? What about 1/2 inch? Well, then you couldn't do that because this would be, yep. So in that particular case, or in cases that they're bigger, we're going to go to this. And I like this anyway. Right now, this little window right here, see right here? This is the distance between the bottom of this plate and the bottom of this domino. That's 20, which means that's halfway up is at 10. So this isn't a perfect spot here for 3/4 inch spot. Reason I like this down is because this little line right here is tap dead center where that domino is going to come in at. So if you're using a tight setting, this little line right here in this little triangle is very important to you. Now, I can also make this go lower. And I can do it one of two ways. I can raise this all the way up. I'm sorry, that side. This side. This raises and lowers it. And now, this little step stool, I can bring down so this gets closer and closer and closer to this. So for example, this is set at 16 now. And now we can kind of just move stuff around as we want. Let's do setting. down. And now look how close we are to this here. And that's just looking at it. That looks, it's pretty close, like 5 millimeters, which is what we'd want for about a 1/2 inch stock. So the only time we're going to use the bottom to measure basically is when it's 3/4 of an inch. Anything else, we want to use this. Suppose we wanted something that was, what's 1.5 inches? What's an inch? Yeah, say 25. Okay, so an inch is 25 millimeters. What's a 1/2 inch? Okay, so that's 25 plus 12 is 35, 37. But it's not quite 37. It's more closer to 36. Bring this down. Lock this in place. Oh, look. The little window says 36. Isn't that neat? So this will take you to the max this will go is 40. So 40 from here to here. So this allows you to start playing with stuff. Suppose I had something 2 inches. Well, there's no lesson I can say. I'm going to put 2 tenons in now. I'll do one side, flip the piece over, do it again. I'll have 2 side-by-side tenons. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this. It's kind of neat. If you're doing 45 degrees, you can always take this, set this to 45. And now if you've got a piece of wood that you need to come in at a 45 angle to, like you want to make a box and you want the box to look like that, if that was a thick piece of wood, I can come in at that 45-degree angle and make a tenon. But for most purposes, you're just going to keep this at flat 90. Okay. So we've talked about depth. We've talked about setting it up. Let's make a hole. A domino is demanded actually, to be attached to a vacuum. It generates a tremendous amount of debris, as any router does. And because of the way this is made, all that debris comes back right at you. And every one of Domino's products, with the exception of the hand drill, are meant to be used with a vacuum system. I really think they need to be used with a clamping system. This is a Festool MFT table, multifunction. For all practical purposes, it doesn't have to be a Festool multifunction table. It could be your workbench with 3/4 holes. It can be the Craig system here with 3/4 instead of the 20. What's important is you've got a flat surface. It's got this stuff that you can adjust so you can clamp your piece of wood in. So what we're going to do, let's see which one I make the hole in. It's close enough. Close enough for gum. We'll make a couple different holes on this. This will be fun. What we need is to mark it. We're actually going to do 2 things with this. We'll put a hole right here. And then I'm going to put one right here. So let's start on this first. I want to clamp this down so I can hold this for our little domino to grab it. So this is holding it in place. Now, if I want to, I can come in this way. I just don't want this to move. So we're good to go here. Here's where I'm going to put the domino, and I'm going to put another one over here in just a minute. Line it up with the line. Now, I'm going to hold this right here. I'm going to turn this on, and then watch how I hold this to push it in. Back here. You let the router get up to speed, you let the vacuum system turn on, you're in no rush. The best way to lose control of a router bit in grain is to jam it in there hard. But if you take your time and move it slowly, it'll start cutting that and you'll have no issues. So now we're going to cut this again. Again, this tape allows me to move this stuff around and lock this in place so it doesn't move. And the next one I cut is over here. You can try to get this in the middle. You can try to get on an edge. I think I got enough room. And nope, clamps in the way. Okay, turn it on again. Let everything come up. So that one's done. Come over to this one. Now, I'm going to change the size. I've got to change it while the motor is running and while it's not cutting wood. So this next one's going to be bigger. Okay. And here you can see the two sizes, the difference in the size. So, let's see, where's my 5mm at? So you can do nice designs in wood. So you can do all kinds of neat layouts. And this is a good, strong joint. Yeah. Watch me not get this one out. These really aren't meant to be going in and out a lot because I'm going to, as I do this, I'm going to compress them. And here you can see, because of that slip, I can move them around a little bit to make sure they line up. So this is where you put the glue on, but absolutely dead solid perfect. I just used an external reference to make sure everything was lined up. Easy peasy. Any questions about anything so far? The bits are carbide. Yeah, they'll last a good long time. Because these bits are designed to be equally as good going into end grain as they are to side grain. The cheaper bits don't do well in end grain at all. But if you're doing end grain, make sure you just take your time. Yeah. You'll find that the smaller piece really holds well. We'll just put those there for now. Okay. This thing. This is going to be a frame. It's fairly easy, simple. There's my line I want. I like to go back to the 45-degree mode. Because of the way this table's set up, you've got 45 degrees, 90 is really, really easy. Pardon? I do? Pardon? Yeah, it's right now. I can't change it till it's running.
That makes a much more stationary cut.
Yeah, because you don't want.
Biscuit joiner, because of the biscuit joiner being a half round thing, the biscuit can slide.
The biscuit joiner was designed to do one thing and one thing only. It was designed to put something in boards so that when you glued the boards together to make a panel, the boards didn't move up and down and cause you have to sand until the cows came home. It adds absolutely no strength whatsoever. You can take a biscuit, you can crack it in your fingers. It adds no strength. It just holds that wood in place till the glue dries. These are full-blown floating tenons. This will, if you thought the glue joint was strong, with a floating tenon, it's very strong. And it's very easy to do because with a floating tenon, you can get real precise in exactly where you put it. What happens if you put a floating tenon in the wrong place? Yeah, that's exactly right. You take the tenon, glue it in there. When it's dry, you cut it flush and you keep right on going. Nobody will ever see it. So what we're doing now is this is the typical what you'd find in like a picture frame or something like that. Let's get another 5 mil. Now, normally, I would not use a 5 mil for this one. I'd use something bigger, something longer. This is where I like to use the 8s. However, for this will be sufficient. So, here we have this. What I want to do, actually, I want to do it this way. Close enough. Brought these two different types of clamps, Festool cells, just to show you the difference. This is my favorite. Come on. Now this one, I need to take this as far as she'll go. So we're going to raise this up a little bit. Okay. And cross our fingers. There we go. And then what we would do normally is just glue this in place. When the glue's dried, just sand it flush. What I wanted to show you is this. Just a good, nice. Now, as you put weight on this, and this tries to come out, this is not letting it. If you try to pull it this way, this won't let it. This won't let it come this way. So with glue on, this joint is absolutely bulletproof. Just pass that around. It's not glued yet, so it's still going to have a little play in it. But once you glue that joint, it literally is a lock miter. They could have. Well, you're also going to clamp it too, remember. Yeah, this doesn't mean you're still not clamping and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But if you ever had stuff that was heavy and you're worried about these tenons and this stuff just coming apart, that added to it will lock it in fairly well. Okay, what else can we do with this? Well, let me try this one that I think is something neat. This is what you're going to do for end grain. And how this works, this slides over this. Get it to the end. And this little piece comes around, fits in here, then you just tighten this down. Same with this. Clips right in here. Okay. And I pre-did this. There we go. So again, we'll take one of these, put it here. Yeah, well, let's just do this. One place of holding it is the pivot point. Two locks it in place. So I put this here, slide it up. This centers it because I put this up so that this is tap dead center. What did I forget to do? Yep. I'm going to come back over here, take this back up to the 5, which is 15. So the good part is this: if you're making a gate, if you're making a box or some decorative piece or something, so the little ones won't tumble down the stairs, you can get all your wood lined up and just crank through these really, really quick. And if you have these a set distance apart, they will always be that distance apart. And it's really easy to do it. You can even get in fancy designs. There's all kinds of stuff that we can do with this stuff. Anyway, does anybody have any questions about what we've talked about so far? Know that as the thickness of the wood increases, you can increase the size of the dominoes. Normally, like I said, I like the rule of thirds, third, third, third. So if something is 18, and I know that this is a little bit more than 19, well, 18 is 666, that's close enough for me. So I would go for a 6 mil if I was doing mortise and tenons in 3/4 stock. If it's a little thicker stock, if it's a 1-inch thick stock, I go 8 millimeter. If it's something really heavy that the frame's got to carry a lot of weight, I use 10s, and I might use more than 1 10. I might use 2 10s. Just what the project you're working on just governs the size of the domino. As far as what you'll use most often, it'll be the 500. This has got all kinds of capabilities. Here you can set stops for a predetermined distance. Here you can't. However, this has the stops. They're right here. These little things that poke out. Now, if you look down this way, you can see a little screw, and they give you a little Allen wrench and it goes in there. You can tighten that screw, and these things will stay in. They won't come out. And that might be helpful if you're dealing with those other pieces. And let me show you those, how they attach. It's really difficult. No. Good question. No. This is designed to use with wood, with plywood, with fiberboard, with anything with wood. MDF, it's not really rated for any of the glue. Now, or in straightened band board, you can use it with. One of the things you'll see in that Festool supplemental manual for the domino is exactly what woods this is rated for. But the operative word is wood. But what's really neat is you can see in the base, see that dovetail and see this dovetail here? Hard to, but they're there, trust me. I don't need you. These turn, when you put this in, you turn this to lock them in and turn them to release them, so that's nice. Festool's come out with the blue. There's a card right in here. Well, there's nothing in there now. You open the space, put the Bluetooth card in there, plumb it back up, put the Bluetooth button here. So when you're done and you've made a mess and you've taken the machine away, you can press the button, turn the vacuum back on, clean up your mess, turn it off without trying to figure out where you put it. So these things. All I need to do is, this points out to the wood. So this goes in that little dovetail. I flip this little lever. This goes in this little dovetail. And I flip the lever. And now I can do extensions. So if this is lined up, if I'm using this one and this is not lined up, it doesn't matter, because when I press it in tight, this goes in. Now, they don't explain this well, but let me explain it to you here. You'll see that here and here, there are two, I guess, slots that you can line up with these printing underneath, right? Well, you're measuring from here to here and from here to here. So the slots that are accurate are on this side. This side. So when I look down here, I'm looking here at 100, and this is lined up right here at 120. I can also look this way and look down and see that they're lined up. So either side you can see. So this says from here to here is 120 millimeters. And from there to the middle, it's 120. And I'm going by this line right here to line up on. So this puts us just where we want to go, as distance between here. So we're going to use the inside measure, the side that's closest to this. Any questions? This is if I'm going to make I'm going down a long piece of wood. So let's see. So I've got a hole here. So I want to be 120 millimeters from this hole. So I just bring this down till it's in the hole. And now if I did one, it would be exactly 120 from this. Then I come down to the next opening, lock it in, off it. So I can go right down a certain distance between them. Right, just like this. Just like that. So you're bringing it, now I'm going, from here I'm going this way. Bring it to the side closest to you, and then you just made a hole, so you'll take it in that one, and you can go a set distance all the way down. So if you want yours to be 6 inches apart, you can set this up so it'd be 6 inches, which would be around 300 millimeters, which should be not quite 300. This won't take you right there, but you see what I mean. So this is neat. If you're this and that are really designed if you're doing production. If you're making a gate, say, and you want the top and bottom to be this far apart so little ones can't get in, then you just set up that distance here and bam, bam, bam. Flip your other piece over, coming from the other side, coming from this side, bam, bam, bam. They will line up when you put them together. Off the same end. If I have these two right here, and I make my lines, okay, then I flip this over. If I reference off this end, I made a mistake. If I reference on this end, that's the same as this. Here's the end I measured from. So I take this down and I make my holes, slam them this way. I flip this over so I can see it, and now this is the end I have to reference on. So now I come this side this way. But if I'm using the same distance here as I use the same distance here, these have to line up because I use the same point of reference. The key to any type of measuring is your point of reference. It's got to be the same. The second you make a mistake and do this, accuracy is gone because you're not measuring from the same spot. As long as you measure from the same spot, you should be golden.